Hello, hello, hello. Starting off this video with a deep French V-tip. It's not a deep French. What do they call this? Like a V-tip French. There you go. I mark off my middle of the nail as far as where I want the 2 points to be touching. And that's what those two little notches are at the free edge of the nail. From there, I just go in on my sides and create that first line a little bit underneath. I like to do underneath. I don't always just make the first line and let that be that, because if I always need to make adjustments, I could have the opportunity and the space to do so. So then I'm just coming back upward and meeting my line. That way I get really crisp lines and making sure that it's really coming to that point that I want it to. Because that V French is obviously a little different because it doesn't have the downward moon like a French tip does. It comes to a point more or less like a triangle than anything. So working underneath gives me the space to make my little small mistakes and make adjustments before I have to like wipe it off and start over again. And then it becomes like a waste of time and you're sitting here doing a set or a V French that takes forever. So just looking at it and kind of looking at it from the above angle as far as, okay, where do I want this line to meet versus where is this line already? So that is what this is. And then for that spread out crocodile print look, I put my top coat on first and I do not cure it. I leave it alone and then I go in with whatever color I want to and I allow it to spread. And the thing that I know that the whatever if even if you use base coat, you can use base coat too, whatever. It has to be clear. This has to be a pretty thick layer. And what I found works best so that you don't lose your shape of your acrylic, keeping it square, keeping it coffin, keeping it stiletto, whatever, is you want the polish to be thick in the middle because you have to keep in mind gravity is going to do its thing and pull downwards to the sides. So keeping it thin on the sides as far as the clear polish goes and kind of just blobbing it on in the middle. That way everything pulls downward to the side and really gives you that runny effect. I feel works best because I used to always just put a really thick layer and then it spreads too quickly before you can even finish to cure. It's already blended and mashed into each other. So finding that perfect balance is going to be like your biggest thing. And just know, once you see that look that you want, tell the client, okay, go ahead, put your hand on the lamp. We're going to cure that because once it spreads so much, there is no going back and fixing it. So once you see the consistency or like the pattern you like, bam, go ahead and cure it. And this is my same old Poochie's Nails top coat. Again, I'm going to use this bottle until this bottle is empty. Okay. Right now, it hasn't been doing that weird thing where it's like spreading. So I've been happy with it again. So That's the top coat I am using, and I do keep a small dish with some acetone in it to clean off my brush because I am using two different colors. And this is the same concept, just putting a layer of top coat, dipping in my color, and creating just little small lines, keeping space in between because we want that spread effect. So not placing them too close together because you want to be able to see in between each line that you place, but you have to remember as the nail tech, I need to keep space in between so that this has room to spread and still have space from in between each little spot. I don't know, for whatever reason, the pinkies came out so freaking good. But with the pinkies, I do my smaller bits first because I want to really be able to put my bigger lines all down the middle centered. So I'm knocking out my small sections just so I could really see, just so that I could really see what it is that I'm working with. So you see me place those and I allow those time to spread. And I know I have to move quick because in a minute it's going to get real blurry. So I'm just slamming out these lines and for the bigger lines, you place the brush and you kind of drag it a little bit out. That way you get bigger chunks as opposed to the small ones you've been seeing me do. So you see like I'm dragging it like over like vertically to make it longer. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, y'all. I really hope it makes sense. But you can see I'm like dragging it out and then allowing it just a little time to spread. And here you can see me like if you don't like the consistency, I keep calling it consistency. It's more of a pattern. If you don't like the pattern, don't cure it because curing it is going to make it set. So until you see what you like, wait, and it's going to spread. And that also is determined by how much of the top coat or base clear, whatever it is you use, top coat or clear you use, which makes that spreading pattern happen quicker. It's so important to always be checking in with your client. And when I say checking in with your client, it's a quick, hey, do you like how they look? Like, or are you loving them? And at that moment, they're like, yeah, I like them, but are they going to get any darker? They'll tell you, or they'll ask you any small questions that will kind of tell you, like, oh, they want them a little bit darker. So I did tell this client that I can definitely go over it again. Just know that the pattern might isn't going to exactly line up because it's basically a freestyle. Like whatever you get out of the first pattern is what you get, but I can definitely go over and make the black darker. So that's what you see me doing. And to do that, I just did the same exact step. I put more top coat, did not cure it, and I just go in with the black and just try to make a small black dot inside of the first pattern and allow it to spread. And I'm curing it quicker because I don't want it to get too messy with it being a different pattern. So I just want to keep that pigmentation of the darker color. So again, be mindful of that. Like you can never do this twice. So you can definitely always make it darker so it's not so transparent looking because you can see this pinky is really transparent and she didn't like that, which I feel. So going back in with top coat, a pretty thick layer. And when I say thick, like not nothing crazy, just a little thicker than what you would normally do, keeping my sides clean and then just going back in with my black in the same exact spots that I've already done the pattern in. And honestly, at this point, it's just a matter of me going back over and making everything a little bit more pigmented and a little bit more opaque. And again, I'm just repeating that process by putting on my top coat and doubling back with the white and the black, letting it spread just a little bit and curing it right before it meets the same edge as the first one. So that's basically what you're seeing me do here, and everything else as far as the other fingers, I'm just putting my top coat because they're completely finished. This here was such a clear shot, so I'm just gonna let y'all kind of have this moment, and you can really see how much top coat I am applying and how thick it is, because you can see when I plop my brush down, I really have the space to like wipe down the top coat. So that kind of gives you a small idea of how much I am applying. It's not a whole lot. Like, I hope y'all don't get carried away with it, but it is more than enough that when I lay down that black, I can tell that I'm moving the top coat from where it is. And again, you guys can see here my spacing from each line is pretty separated, and how I'm dragging the brush out and laying it all the way down so that I get bigger patterns, as opposed to my side pieces. I'm more or less using the tip of my brush and not the whole belly of the brush to place my black onto the nail. When it comes to me and rhinestones, I am not well rounded in that. This is my first time trying this approach of me putting the rhinestone gel on the palette, taking a brush and drawing it into a line, and then setting my stones into the line, almost like a mushed sandwich situation, because the line was very thick, and each rhinestone I put, it was like I was placing a chocolate chip in the center of a cookie, is the best way I could describe it. So that's what I did with this, because that was my most times rhinestones never stay, and I don't do rhinestones on clients because I know that they don't stay and I feel bad. So that is the approach I took with this. I did the same thing on both hands. I applied the rhinestone glue and then pressed the rhinestones into the glue. I had also found a new way for my cuticle oil. I basically went to my nail supply store and they had these empty nail polish bottles. Even though the brush applicator is fucking ass, I like the concept of being able to brush the cuticle oil onto the cuticle versus letting it run out the bottle. Because out the bottle is too much. And when I want to take my pictures, sometimes clients like to rub it into, like, they take both their hands and rub it all over the place. And it'd be so much oil, it just makes the nails look crazy. So this is like the perfect amount. So I will recommend finding like a really good applicator with an empty bottle and putting your cuticle oil in that. That way you can just brush it on and it's not a whole bunch of cuticle oil like running around everywhere. So I don't know, try it out. Let me know how it works for you for real, because if the applicator wasn't trash, I would actually much rather prefer this than the bottle. And I am going to apologize in advance because I could not tell you from a can of paint what kind of rhinestone glue this is. This is literally a tube I found at the shop in a box that had 50 million of these tubes in it, and they are just a little black tube of some gummy jelly with a little piece of paper on it that has some foreign language that I cannot understand. So I don't know where it's from. I don't even know if this is really rhinestone glue for real. I think it is though, because the consistency is very much rhinestone glue. It's not builder gel. It's really tacky. So I don't know, but I wish I could tell y'all, but I just sometimes some things in the nail salon you just don't know what it is. You just know that they work and they're your favorite product ever. And when you can find it again, you'll find it again, and you'll know the product because you know what the bottle looks like. So again, I'm just going in and pressing my rhinestones into the small glob mountain that I created, and y'all can just kind of see here how I'm going about that. Really, I am trying to keeping them close together so that way there is no space, because we have to remember rhinestones, like we doing our hair, we put on our pants, we got kids, we doing bath time, the whole nine. So keeping them close together so they don't snag on anything is important, because I feel like that's what causes rhinestones to come up a little quicker. Is if you have a whole bunch of space, you'll typically tend to snag one that way. So pressing them together and try to really keep each rhinestone embedded into the nail glue is what I always hear works. So that's kind of the tactic and format I'm trying to achieve with placing these rhinestones. And lastly, when it comes to rhinestones, I do have my clients cure multiple times, and I do sometimes even after like the second time, I do have them rotate their hand around in the nail lamp while they're in there, because we have to remember, like, we have to get all angles because an object is obstructing the glue from getting cured. So just keeping that in mind. And honestly, this set came out fire. Look at that, crisp lines. Nice V-tip branch. Thank y'all so much for watching. Leave some comments down below. Let me know some. I'm going to see y'all in the next video. Bye.